Excellent. Well, good morning, everyone. It's a real pleasure to be here today at the Ottawa Food Bank. I'd like to thank the executive director here, Rachel Wilson, for having us. And it's wonderful also, of course, today to be joined by my colleague and friend, Minister Lisa MacLeod, who I'll have a chance to introduce in a moment. Today's announcement is a very, very exciting and important announcement for many of the community agencies right across Ottawa and, of course, across the province. At the onset of the pandemic, many of the community agencies that we rely on across Ottawa that serve some of our most vulnerable populations and help make up the cultural fabric of our city were some of those organizations that were also hit the hardest by the pandemic. Many of them suffered in their operational capacity. They may have had less access to volunteers. When we walked into this wonderful warehouse that we're here today here at the Ottawa Food Bank, I was reminded of the time last year, around this time, when I joined a number of Ottawa politicians at the food bank to help pack food baskets for Christmas. And of course, this year, that's not possible to have all of us in a big assembly line putting together those baskets. And different things like that have helped, have made it more difficult for organizations like the food bank to continue to do the important work they need to do in our community. Now, I've had the pleasure over the course of the pandemic of working with a lot of these agencies across the city that serve our most vulnerable populations. Through a United Way community response table, we've been working with them, supporting them, and making sure that they can do the important work that they need to do to support those populations. Through the announcement that we're making today, we're going to be able to give back and to make sure that we're providing each of these agencies with the tools and resources they need to be resilient through the COVID-19 pandemic and continue to serve those vulnerable populations. I had the pleasure this weekend of being able to call a number of these agencies right across Ottawa that represent such a diverse group of different organizations, from the Parkdale Food Cupboard, the Ottawa Jazz Festival, the Bytown Museum, the Vista Centre for Brain Injury, and the Canadian Breast Cancer Awareness Network. All of these agencies and many others were so thrilled to be able to receive a little bit of extra funding at this crucial time of year to make sure that they can continue to do their important work. And those investments are thanks to the Ontario government and thanks to the leadership of my friend, Minister Lisa MacLeod, who jumped into action at the onset of this pandemic and saw this need and saw an opportunity for us in the Ontario government through the Ontario Trillium Foundation to be able to support these agencies. And so it's my pleasure now to welcome to the podium Minister MacLeod to talk about this COVID-19 Resiliency Grant and talk about how it's going to best support these agencies that support our most vulnerable and that really do make up the cultural fabric of our city. Thank you, Minister MacLeod, for this exciting announcement.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Jeremy, for your kind words, and thank you for taking on all of the load last week and making sure that we were able to call 32 recipients of the Ottawa area projects that were approved in the first round of the Ontario Trillium Foundation's Resilient Communities Fund. I'm pleased to be here today with Rachel Wilson as well at the Ottawa Food Bank. As many Ottawa residents would know, each year during this period of time, I throw myself into work with the local Barhaven Food Cupboard as well as the FAMSAC Food Cupboard in Bell's Corners. This year is much more difficult for our not-for-profit and volunteer sector. The ministry that I represent, Heritage, Sport, Tourism and Culture Industries, is the largest volunteer sector in the country. We also represent not-for-profits, everyone from the Being Studio, which supports ASL translation, to Child and Nature Alliance of Canada, to Christie Lake Kids and the Collaborative Justice Program. The ministry that I represent is really the heart and soul of our province. It talks about the cultural fabric and the social importance of what we do together. Unfortunately, during this pandemic, many of the organizations that we rely on to support the most vulnerable in our society have been challenged themselves, either through a shortage of charitable donations or a risk for the volunteer sector themselves. And that's why early on in the pandemic, we encouraged and asked the Ontario Trillium Foundation, one of our agencies, to take an $83 million investment and turned it into a COVID-19 resiliency fund. As Jeremy mentioned, we started making the announcements last week to not-for-profit organizations throughout the province. We did so that they would understand during this holiday season, as we approach Hanukkah, we just finished Diwali, and we look toward Christmas, that their Ontario government was there to make sure that they could get through this season in a way that perhaps they didn't think they would. Many of the stories I've heard from across Ontario have been absolutely moving, with many organizations being reduced to tears so that they could hire their staff back, or they could digitize and adapt their events and training programs so that they could bring in much needed PPE. And right here today, to support home delivery. You know, last week was Christmas cheer in the city of Ottawa, and although the show did go on, there was a shortage of donations compared to last year by about $20,000. And never more before has the need been greater in our great city and, of course, our great province to support those who need our support the most. And that's why today I'm pleased to announce that of the Ontario Trillium Foundation's Resiliency Fund, $2.9 million will be invested into our city to 32 not-for-profit organizations in the Ottawa area. And that includes today's announcement for the Ottawa Food Bank. They'll receive $138,000 for home delivery. Volunteer Ottawa will receive $131,000 to support volunteer efforts and coordination across our city. And the Minishwag Lodge will receive $100,000 to support our Indigenous population in the city of Ottawa. Again, ladies and gentlemen, and friends in the media, never before has it been so important for us to come together virtually and socially distanced in order to support those among us who are less advantaged. And that's why it's important, whether it's through government funding here today or through your own philanthropic and charitable and volunteer efforts, to support our local organizations that support so many other people. I'm pleased to be here today on behalf of Premier Ford, and I look forward to supporting more organizations. And I'll conclude this way. The Ontario Trillium Foundation supports organizations across Ontario. And in the recent budget, we have announced that in 2021 and 2022, the Ontario Trillium Foundation will see a $100 million increase in its budget in order to support organizations just like this that need our help now more than ever. And so with that, I'll pass it over to Rachel Wilson of the Ottawa Food Bank to talk about what their needs are this holiday season throughout our entire city and how important this investment today is to this important organization to our city. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister MacLeod, and thank you to you as well, MPP Roberts. It is an absolute honor to be hosting everyone today for this important announcement. It's been an incredible blessing to hear that we will be able to continue our home delivery program. We started the home delivery program early on when we identified very quickly that there were many people in our community, the most vulnerable, who were not able to get out and get the food that they so desperately needed. We were receiving phone calls of people who were in absolute panic. So we quickly moved to start a home delivery program for those who were immunocompromised, seniors who had mobility issues, and single parents, because we didn't want them to have to take their children out into the community and risk exposure. So since that time, we've done almost 1,500 home deliveries right across the city to a wide variety of people, and they are all incredibly grateful for that support. And this will be an incredible thing for them to know that the home deliveries will continue thanks to this investment from the Ontario Trillium Foundation and the Resilient Community Fund. It's just an amazing thing to see the incredible partnership of the Government of Ontario with our volunteers, staff, and the 112 agencies that we work with across the city. city. It's just such an honor to be the recipient of incredible kindness and generosity that the City of Ottawa is so well known for. We are starting the home delivery program in addition to the regular service that we do of 39,000 people who are served every single month through our emergency food programs. And sadly, 37% of those are children. We talk about not being able to have toys at Christmas time, which is of course devastating, but not being able to have food on your table is just heartbreaking. But thanks to the support of the Ontario government, the Ontario Trillium Foundation, and donors right across our city, we'll ensure that people have the healthy, nutritious food that they need at this time of year. So we thank you so much for this incredible investment here in Ottawa, not just at the Ottawa Food Bank, but at all the agencies that will receive funds. And I'll turn it back over now to Minister MacLeod to take questions from the media.
Well, I'm giving all the hard ones to you guys. Sorry, honey.
Thank you. We will be taking questions from the media. First question.
Your first question comes from Jeremy Sharon from CTV News. Please go ahead.
Hi, Jeremy.
Hi, Minister. Jeremy Sharon here from CTV News, Ottawa. I'm wondering if you can tell us what Ottawa's share of the initial vaccine supply in the province will be and when we'll be getting that.
Yeah, so these are conversations that we have frequently with the Chief Medical Officer of Health and, of course, the Minister of Health herself. I'm confident that Ottawa will get its fair share based on a per capita funding. I'll let the Minister of Health make that announcement, but I am very confident that Ottawa will be on the top of the list, just like other large populous cities across the country.
Follow up. Okay, next question.
Your next question comes from Kimberly Molina from CBC News. Please go ahead.
Hi, Kimberly.
Good morning, Minister MacLeod. CTV beat me to my first question, but I guess, do you have an understanding as to, when that decision will be made and when the city will be notified?
We are working around the clock, and I can assure you Cabinet is meeting either every 2 days or every day to deal with this. So General Rick Hillier will be making those determinations with the Chief Medical Officer of Health, the Minister of Health, and our Solicitor General, as well as the Premier. Today there is a First Ministers meeting. I believe it just started, and the Council of Confederation will obviously be working with the Prime Minister, and we will work together to make sure that that happens on a timely basis. But we will be taking guidance from the federal government, and we will be working internally to make sure that there is a successful rollout. And of course, on behalf of the Ottawa residents, we'll make sure that Ottawa gets its fair share as well.
Follow up.
Yeah, I guess a bit of a two-parter. It's supposed to be coming out next week, so I'm wondering sort of how much advance notice the city would be given, and are you aware of where we would have a deep freezer located? I believe the Ottawa Hospital may already have one that can reach the temperatures required, but if you are able to provide any extra information, that would be appreciated.
No, I appreciate the hunger for information. I think it's better left to the Minister of Health to make those announcements. We are working day and night as a cabinet and a government to ensure that there is a safe rollout of the vaccine, and that most populous areas and those most vulnerable will receive the vaccination. So we're going to continue to work with the federal government. There's a lot of things at play here, obviously, with the federal government acquiring the vaccinations, then the rollout through the provinces, and then, of course, the notification to the cities. I can say that myself and Minister Fullerton speak on a regular basis, both with Dr. Faulkner at the Queensway Carleton Hospital, Cameron Love from the President and CEO at the Ottawa Hospital, and, of course, Dr. Etches on a number of different items, obviously COVID testing, influenza testing, and what a vaccination rollout would look like. But at this time, I have no further details, but we continue to work toward an answer.
Thank you. Next question.
Ladies and gentlemen, once more, should you have a question, please press star followed by 1.
And we had a great announcement today to support a lot of not-for-profits in our city, so hopefully we'll get some coverage on that, because many of these organizations are in dramatic need this holiday season.
There are no further questions.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Jeremy, and thank you, Rachel, and happy holidays to all of you. A very Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and I can't wait until 2021, as I'm sure all of you can't.